Each week I speak with literally hundreds of people about their concerns, and there are two questions that dominate everyone's minds. First, Don, our country is headed in the wrong direction. Is there anything we can do to help change the course for our nation? Or, I'm desperately concerned about the world our kids are growing up in. What can we possibly do? And it's no wonder. Consider the following facts. Divorce remains at 52% of marriages, but it is also 51% in families in church. Do you know, of children raised in church from their infancy, only 4% profess a faith in Christ when they go to university. That's a 96% failure rate. You know, about 1/3 of all children do not live with their biological fathers. Yet fatherless homes account for 63% of youth suicides, 90% of homeless and runaway children, 71% of high school dropouts, 85% of youth in prison, 164% of youth without fathers were more likely to have a premarital birth, and 92% are more likely to get divorced. Do you know that 58 out of every 100 children born are now born into broken families? Children from broken homes are predisposed to rapid initiation of sexual relationships. And you know, they're twice as likely to live together and not get married. But can you really blame young people for saying, I've never seen a marriage commitment up close work. I'm not going to go there. We might as well just try it out first. And sure enough, the number of common law couples surged almost 14% between 2006 and 2011, with 1 out of every 5 households now made up of a couple living together instead of getting married. The problems our youth face are so very complex and multiplying rapidly, and virtually everyone agrees that our country needs a moral makeover. But the solution to both of these concerns is far simpler than most people realize, and they are tied very closely together. And the Bible reveals to us exactly what needs to be done. Let me explain. I've always been fascinated by final words, and to illustrate, I would like you to imagine today that it was your last day on earth, that somehow you knew that you would not wake up tomorrow morning and all you had left was this day. What would you say to your son or daughter, or to your mother or father, or to your husband or wife? Something tells me you would think ever so carefully about what it is you want to say. You would dispense with anything trivial or unimportant, and you'd narrow all of life down to the absolute essentials. Your final words would be ever so important to you and to them. I came face to face with this concept several months ago when my wife, Faye, had a very traumatic experience that quickly turned into a matter of life and death. A vein in her esophagus ruptured, causing her to lose over 50% of her blood in just 6 hours. She was rushed to Toronto's St. Michael's Trauma Unit, where 5 transfusions later, a special gluing process was finally able to stop her internal bleeding. As I followed in the ambulance, I began to think, would I be able to say anything else to the love of my life, some 43 years? What if I had just had one more thing to say? What was that going to be? And what if she had one last sentence for me? I knew I would listen for every word and the meaning behind it. Fortunately, God protected Faye, but my point is this: if you had one last conversation, it would be really, really important. And such is the book of Deuteronomy. Moses was their leader, and his last words are recorded in this book. Not surprisingly, Deuteronomy unlocks the key for any nation desiring favor with God, and how a healthy, fulfilling future for their young people can be assured for generations to come. Here's what Moses said to the people in Deuteronomy 6, verses 3-9. And I believe God is saying to us today, pay attention, Israel. And may I say, pay attention, Canada. Pay attention, America. Our ancestors worshiped the Lord, and He promised to give us this land that is rich with milk and honey. Be careful to obey Him, and you will become a successful, and powerful nation. Listen, Israel, and may I add, listen, Canada. Listen, America. The Lord our God is the only true God. So love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and strength. Memorize his laws and tell them to your children over and over again. Talk about them all the time, whether you're at home or walking along the road or going to bed at night or getting up in the morning. Write down copies and tie them to your wrists and foreheads to help you obey them. Write these laws on the door frames of your homes and on your town gates. Now, as you hear these words of promise, can you also see that the problems we've developed within our nation are now vested within a young generation because the generation before them has rationalized on doing things their own way and not following the ways of God? And so Crossroads is declaring the priority of empowering young people in their faith. But we know that God's plan for younger generations hinge on the parents that are deeply in love with each other for an entire lifetime, in sickness and in health, until death parts them, and deeply in love with their God, so that their families love him too and follow his ways. This is the key to any nation that wishes to remain healthy and strong. But families are breaking down. And this is why Crossroads needs to take one of its most ambitious steps ever, this massive task of refortifying the family. We are believing God for $1.1 million to build a powerful portal for families that uses our expertise in media and technology to get help directly to families.